Hi everybody, John back again. I'm going to talk about progressive rock now. Been a while, so I thought it was time. And to be honest with you, I've got a few records and even a CD to show, so it's about time. While I'm going to do this, I'm listening to a record. I'll show you which record I'm listening to. So this is the Moody Blues. It's their second album. It's called In Search of the Lost Chord. Picked up quite a few Moody Blues records when I lived in the US. I think certain bands just seemed so much more popular in America, or at least California where I was living, because I'd find these records everywhere. I think I came back home from the US to Europe with about 3 or 4 copies of their first album. The reason I'm listening to this is because, well, for Christmas I got from my son a copy of this magazine, Prog magazine, and sort of the feature article is the fact that their first album, um, Days of Future Past, turns 55 apparently. So it's quite a nice extensive article. Now, because I never really sort of got to know the Moody Blues that well, there's quite a few pages on this. I thought, well, now's a good time to really sort of listen to that. So I listened to Days of Future Past quite a lot. I had it on the turntable for about a week, and I must admit it was probably the first time that I'd really immersed myself into it. So now I'm sort of gone on to the second album, and yeah, it's interesting stuff. I mean, the article asked Days of Future Past, was it the first progressive rock album, or it makes a statement as to say it certainly was there at the beginning anyway, which I think is interesting. So I'm going to show some records that I've got and talk about them, and see if I can't grab your interest for a while. First album I'm going to show here is this. This is an album by Zop. Which side am I on? There you go. Still struggling with this new camera. It's got a little window where I can see myself reflected back at me, which my last camera didn't have, so I'm kind of enjoying that. So this is Zop's first album. I think it's simply called Zop, and they are described as being a Canterbury scene band. I bought this because they've just this year released a new album, and I really want to get it. It's got a beautiful cover on it, and the album's available if you're happy to have a digital copy or a CD. But they say that the vinyl edition won't be ready for some months yet, so later in the year it will come out. I thought, well, I'll hold off and get the vinyl. I mean, if you're going to pay that money, you might as well get the proper copy. But in the meantime, I thought, well, I'll buy the first album, which I didn't have. Kind of interested in sort of cracking this idea of Canterbury scene, progressive rock. Um, I've got a few Canterbury scene records, but I do struggle to kind of understand or sort of enjoy them as a particular genre or subgenre within the progressive rock scene. I don't really see them as being similar or anything like that, and I'm trying to work out, so what is it? What am I missing? What am I not understanding? I know a lot of people hold up Caravan records as being particularly important, and I'm missing the point somehow. So I'm exploring that, and this is apparently a relatively new record in the Canterbury scene, and I'll get that, and hopefully it will help me learn a bit what it is I'm listening out for. So I think this came out in when did this come out? I can't remember when it came out, but here's its custom label there, like that. has a nice inner thing here. I think when this came out, 2021, I think. Yeah, it's quite good. I'm enjoying it. From what I've heard, the new one is even better, so I'm looking forward to the new one a lot. I'll do a little needle drop of this for you to get an idea of what I'm listening to here. Yeah, if there's anyone out there that can suggest to me what it is about the Canterbury scene that I need to be noticing, please let me know in the comments. And any suggestions of what I should listen to, let me know. So anyway, one album that I really liked last year, and I think I said it was my album of the year last year, was the Birth album. Brilliant album that is, called Born. And Pete sent me a CD. So this is by somebody called Brian Ellis. And Brian Ellis is in Birth. Now he's apparently is sort of a much bigger figure than that. He's not just somebody in Birth. He's sort of a multi-instrumentalist, and it seems that he's even a bit of a producer. So this is an album by Brian Ellis and Brian Grainer. The album's called At Dusk. And yeah, when Pete sent this over, that was quite a surprise. I wasn't expecting it. It just sort of turned up, and I thought, wow, that was really nice of you, Pete. I put this on that evening when I opened it, and yeah, my wife and I sat here listening to it. I recommend this sort of instrumental. I mean, the fact that it's called At Dusk says a lot. It's sort of, yeah, I think the picture says a lot about what you can hear on this. See what you think. A record that somebody showed on the vinyl community. I can't remember who. I think, though I might be wrong, I think it was George Pryor. Um, I just know that somebody showed this and I looked it up and I liked the sound of it, so I ordered myself a copy. So this is Safety and Numbers by an American prog band called Crack in the Sky. I like the cover. I really like this, and when I listened to it, I was reminded of there's a band that I spoke before about called PFM. I think they're a German sort of krautrock band, and they use a lot of mellotron. But there was something about this that reminded me of that, and I thought to myself, well, I'll get that. It wasn't too expensive, and yeah, I've been quite enjoying it a lot. Now, here's the label. I don't know much about the band otherwise. I do notice that they, well, their other records, I think they're still going. They've got quite a lot of albums, but I think this is one of the more popular ones. They do seem to be often described as being arena rock, so I don't know if this was sort of perhaps their most proggiest carnation or what, but well, we'll see. I don't know if I'll get any more of the records. I think the tag of it being arena rock puts me off a little bit. I can see right through your eyes. I can see right through your weary eyes. I can hear right through your cries. I can hear right through your drunken cries. But it's been through your eyes and for the rain day don't fit no more. Rise up, children. Life goes on and on. Rise up, children. Life goes on and on. Or maybe I just need to listen a little bit further. Now here's a band that most people will have heard of before. This is, sorry, the Manfred Mann's Earth Band. Um, First time I heard about them was when my ex-wife had a particular song that she wanted to get hold of, and she kept on singing it to me, and I thought I'd never heard that before, and she looked and she looked. And eventually we found the CD, I think. The song was on it. It was called Geronimo's Cadillac, and it was sort of a poppy song, I suppose, one that she'd heard and she really liked, and so we bought it. So in my mind, Manfred Mann's Earth Band has always been the sort of band that my ex-wife liked. So I haven't really been so often, so keen to listen further to them. But it seems they are or have been identified as being progressive rock, and just that tag makes me feel I've got to listen out to that. Soft prog is a term that I've heard them, which says a lot, I suppose. I've bought this just to see, if it's something that I could get into. Um, yeah, I'm still on the fence about it. It's quite commercial sounding. It's got a very sort of melodic sense to it. Haven't really made up my mind. I probably need to hear a little bit more of them.
Go to ground on a bottle of wine, drown myself in the flood. My frozen toes are beginning to melt. I believe I'm catching a cold. Got all of my feathers and I can't fly. Gotta get back to your love. I'm a clown without a circus. There's no one to see my act. I can laugh and sing and stand on my head. Nobody knows where I'm at. It's hard to be convincing when these blues don't give an inch. I ain't exactly losing, but I'm beginning to feel the pinch. Days are long and lonely, and I feel so insecure. I'm losing you. I can't laugh anymore. I can't laugh anymore.
Here's an album that I picked up just recently. Um, I spent some time on the World Wide Web, as you do, you know. Sometimes you just got a bit of time in your hands and you start looking up records and maybe you come across a name of a band or an album that's kind of particularly referenced and you want to look a bit closer. Well, this is, for me, was one of those. I sat here one evening just looking up, you know, albums that are good but aren't necessarily popular and sort of held to the front. Now, Ambrosia, they're from America. Um, this came out in '77. Could be wrong. Um, but it was issued in America. It had never been issued here in the UK, and that's always a danger sign for me because you look up and if you go onto Discogs and you see, you know, there's lots of copies of this available in America and Canada, but very few copies in Europe. Certainly, very few copies in the UK. You can pick it up on CD, but I want to get a record, like the cover. And there was one copy, and that was this one for sale, and it was graded as being good plus. And I thought, well, I'll take a punt. I mean, it basically cost me about, with the post and packaging, I think it's probably spent about £7 or £8 on this. I wouldn't normally buy anything that was described as being, you know, slightly inferior condition, but since it was so cheap, and I really wanted to get hold of a copy of this record because online I could hear that it was really interesting, and I have no regrets whatsoever. And unfortunately, the guy, he said that, you know, it had some surface noise, but to be honest with you, once I'd cleaned it up, it didn't sound too bad. This is a really interesting buy for me. I really like it. I mean, much like the last one that I showed, the Manfred Mann, it's very commercial, sort of a sweet, sort of poppy kind of sounding prog, I suppose. But this one has some amazing instrumentation. These guys can play. They're really good. I think they released about 4 or 5 albums. This is certainly held up as being the best, the one to get. The next one, I hear that they start heading towards more of a AOR sound, and then after that, it's, you know, they're no longer a progressive rock band. So I might pick up their second one, although it's the sort of thing. Yeah, I'll leave that. But I'm really enjoying this one. Definitely going to need a drop of this. I think everybody should have a copy of this record. It's pretty good.
Hurry up, get along, be on your way, and make sure that you're certain it's not the wrong day. Punctual people are lost in their flight to become unprecedented when they arrive. Why am I searching and when will I know? All the years that I've waited with nothing to show. I'm ready to listen, I'm ready to win, but I can't wait much longer before we begin.
In a similar vein, I will show you this record. I've had this one for a while. Been meaning, I didn't include this in the last progressive rock video that I would have made. I think because I hadn't had it very long and I wanted to really give it a thorough listen and get into it before I spoke about it. This is one of those long lost gems. Again, it's sort of like one of those evenings where you've got perhaps nothing to do and you sit and you're just looking for recommended gems that have never really made it very popular, but are considered great records. Now, this one has had at least 2 or 3 different covers. I'll put some here for you to see how it used to look in the past. But it's one that I've had on my wish list for a while, and now and again I'll look, see if I can find a copy, and there's ridiculously sky-high prices. But this is a 2016 reissue, and limited edition, 250. You can see that. And I thought, well, since it's so highly regarded, I'll give it a whirl and buy the. There we go. Buy the reissue edition, and well, I'm certainly not disappointed. It's another very good record. Feeling as I sit here and speak about this that there's something more I should say about this, but I can't remember what it is. It'll come into my head after we're finished. So if there's anything more I can tell you about this, I'll put it here in the text, and you can make up your own mind. But in the meantime, give this a listen.
White
two more records. This is an upgrade for me, so it's a copy of the first live Genesis album, Genesis Live. Had a copy of this in fairly poor state, and this is just a bit better. And it's on the Buddha group. Of course, the famous label, famous Charisma label. Yeah, it's not a bad album, is it? It's it's quite rough and ready, I think. I read some reviews, I think on Amazon, someone saying about how what was his name? Peter Gabriel at this time owes a lot to Arthur Brown. I'm not familiar with Arthur Brown. I know who he is and I know what he's famous for, but the comment that I read was saying about Arthur Brown really sort of borrowing a lot from Arthur Brown's sort of stage persona and his sort of different stylization that he had. They're saying that Peter Gabriel relied heavily on that, but yeah, I'll take their word for it. Okay, last record. This again was one that I got. Somebody was speaking about this on the vinyl community. Not this album, but this band. So this is Griffon, and the album's called Rain Dance. Great album. I really enjoy this. I bought this a couple of months ago. You know, I can't remember who it was that was talking about Griffon, but they were saying about how, like, the first album or the first two albums by Griffon are almost sort of pure folk type records, until they started getting a bit proggy, and this is one of the more proggier albums. But yeah, I'll give this one a spin too. Hope you enjoy it. Okay, everybody, thanks very much. This is my first prog video for a while, so I've probably got another one coming along fairly soon. Certainly got some rock records to show too. So I'll say thanks very much. Hope this was mildly interesting to somebody, and I'll say check out my next video. Thanks, bye.